In the game of chess, every piece has its purpose, but few are as powerful and complex as the queen. The queen commands the board, moving with unmatched agility and dominance, shaping the strategy and psychology of the entire game. But what lies beneath her calculated movements? This video explores the dark psychology behind the queen's role, unraveling the strategic, psychological and symbolic aspects that make her both a tool of victory and a symbol of power. The queen in chess is a force like no other. Her ability to move in any direction, vertically, horizontally and diagonally, gives her a level of flexibility and power that no other piece can match. This mobility allows her to quickly shift from one side of the board to the other, making her an unpredictable and highly versatile asset. Unlike the slower, more limited pieces, the queen can be in multiple places at once, constantly putting pressure on the opponent and creating opportunities for attack. This unmatched freedom forces the player controlling the queen to adopt a proactive, aggressive approach, always looking for ways to exploit weaknesses in the opponent's defense. The sheer dominance of the queen on the board also creates a psychological advantage. As one of the most feared pieces in the game, her presence alone can intimidate an opponent. Every move made with the queen is carefully calculated, as she has the potential to transform any seemingly stable position into a deadly threat. The player with the queen is often the one dictating the pace of the game, forcing the opponent to react rather than initiate. This power to control the flow of the game can create a sense of helplessness in the opponent, especially when the queen is left unchecked and allowed to roam freely. From a psychological standpoint, the queen's power isn't just about brute strength. It's about the mind games that unfold as both players try to outmaneuver each other. The queen serves as a focal point in many opening strategies, where the goal is to quickly establish dominance and set the tone for the rest of the game. Her aggressive positioning early on can set the stage for a rapid attack, making her one of the most dangerous pieces when deployed correctly. But her strength can also become her greatest vulnerability if misused, as we'll later see. Players must balance the urge to unleash her full power with the awareness that an overextended queen is easily targeted and can lead to costly mistakes. The queen isn't just a piece on the chessboard, she's the heart of many winning strategies. Unlike other pieces that are often used for specific tactical purposes, the queen's flexibility allows her to fulfill multiple roles. Whether it's protecting the king, executing a devastating attack, or controlling critical squares, the queen's utility is unmatched. Because she has the ability to move freely across the board, she often serves as the last line of defense, ready to protect the king when the opponent's forces close in. In this sense, the queen functions as a stabilizing force. Without her, the player is at a significant disadvantage. Her role as protector goes hand in hand with her role as attacker, making her an essential part of the player's overall strategy. Psychologically, the queen's centrality to the game can't be overstated. A player's confidence often stems from the position and safety of their queen. When the queen is in a powerful position, it's easy for the player to feel in control, dictating every aspect of the game. However, this over-reliance on the queen can also be a double-edged sword. If the queen becomes trapped or overextended, the psychological toll is immediate. The loss of the queen is not just a tactical setback, but an emotional blow, often resulting in a collapse of strategy and confidence. This makes the queen not only a powerful piece, but also a symbol of the player's psychological state. Her position on the board often reflects the mental state of the player controlling her. As a cornerstone of chess strategy, the queen represents the pinnacle of control and influence. Her dominance on the board forces opponents to adjust their plans, often leading to a mental battle as both players try to outthink and outmaneuver each other. The queen's ability to hold the center, put pressure on key squares and dictate the flow of the game makes her a linchpin of both offensive and defensive strategies. For the player wielding her, there is both power and responsibility, as every move with the queen carries weight. Her role as the ultimate weapon is undeniable, but it is this very power that makes her so dangerous to lose. However, her power also comes with a distinct vulnerability. The queen's immense range and flexibility make her a target for the opponent, who will inevitably seek to exploit any overreach. This danger is ever present, and players must constantly assess the risk of leaving their queen exposed to attack. In this sense, the queen's power is constantly in tension with her vulnerability, creating a psychological dynamic where players must balance their desire for aggressive play with the need to protect their most valuable piece. The queen's vulnerability often emerges when she is overextended, taking up too much space on the board or venturing too far from the king. In this scenario, the opponent may launch a counterattack, exploiting the open spaces created by the queen's absence from key areas. A player can easily become so fixated on the queen's power that they forget the basic principles of defense, leading to an unintentional sacrifice. This vulnerability is a key part of the psychological manipulation at play in high-level chess, where both players are constantly aware of the danger of leaving their queen exposed. The loss of the queen is one of the most psychologically devastating events in a game of chess. It's not simply the loss of a powerful piece, but the collapse of a player's entire strategy. The queen often represents the core of a player's game plan, and losing her can lead to feelings of hopelessness and defeat. The opponent, recognizing the shift in momentum, can press the advantage with a renewed sense of confidence, knowing that the balance of power has been irrevocably altered. The psychological toll of losing the queen can be crippling, often resulting in a rapid decline in a player's focus and concentration. This is why maintaining control of the queen is so crucial, not just for tactical reasons but for emotional and mental stability throughout the game. At the same time, players must recognize that the queen's central role is both a strength and a weakness. Her power can dominate, but her loss can shatter confidence and strategy. The psychological game of chess is inextricably linked to the queen's fate, making her one of the most intriguing pieces on the board. In chess, the queen's role is central to nearly every strategy, and players who excel in the game are often the ones who understand the deep psychological connection they share with this piece. The queen can be an instrument of pure offense, capable of launching devastating attacks that leave the opponent scrambling for defense. However, the very same qualities that make her a fearsome weapon also make her susceptible to tactical traps. The queen represents the ultimate combination of power and danger, a piece whose movements demand precision and foresight. In many cases, the queen is the centerpiece of both opening and middle game strategies. As soon as she's brought into the game, her potential to control the board is clear. Moving her early in the game can establish dominance, forcing the opponent to focus their efforts on defending against her. The queen's ability to cover vast areas of the board means that she often dictates the tempo of the game, with the player seeking to maintain her position while simultaneously threatening the opponent's key pieces. For the player in control of the queen, this piece is more than just a tool. She is the very symbol of authority on the board. Her ability to affect every part of the game, from attacking to defending, makes her indispensable. The psychological effect of the queen's presence is profound, as she serves as both a shield and a sword, offering both security and destruction. When the queen is well positioned, the player's confidence is reinforced, making it harder for the opponent to find an opening. The queen is the piece that allows players to take calculated risks, offering a psychological cushion that can absorb the impact of tactical missteps. The queen also plays a pivotal role in endgame scenarios. When fewer pieces remain on the board, her power is magnified. She becomes a central figure in checkmating attempts, her mobility allowing for a variety of attacking combinations. This endgame strength is crucial, as many games are decided by the queen's ability to trap the opponent's king. In these final stages, the queen's power becomes even more pronounced, serving as the deciding factor in many games. Her ability to coordinate attacks from multiple angles means that she often holds the key to victory. However, as we've seen, this power comes with the risk of overconfidence. Overextending the queen or using her too aggressively without proper support can lead to her capture. Losing the queen in the endgame is particularly devastating, as the player's remaining pieces may not have the power to defend against a well-coordinated attack. The queen's role in the endgame highlights the importance of balancing aggression with caution, maintaining her strength while ensuring she isn't left vulnerable to a sudden strike. The queen's psychological significance extends beyond the game itself. In many ways, chess serves as a metaphor for real-world power dynamics, and the queen embodies the complexities of authority, control, and influence. Her role in the game mirrors the challenges faced by those in positions of power, where strength and vulnerability coexist in a delicate balance. Much like a ruler or leader, the queen must be used wisely. Her power can secure victory, but her loss can lead to ruin. In chess, as in life, the queen's position is critical. She represents the ultimate blend of power and responsibility, a piece that can lead to victory, but only if handled with care. Understanding the psychological dynamics behind the queen's movements is essential to mastering the game and understanding the human condition itself. The queen's unparalleled power on the chessboard often leads players into a false sense of invulnerability. Her incredible range of movement and flexibility make her a formidable force, but this strength also comes with a critical vulnerability. The queen can easily become overextended, especially if she is used too aggressively or placed too far from the king. The more ground she covers, the more exposed she becomes to counterattacks. If a player fails to consider the surrounding pieces and the overall balance of their position, the queen can fall prey to traps or attacks that take her out of play entirely. This overextension of the queen is a significant psychological weakness. As much as players rely on her as the centerpiece of their strategies, they also understand the risks involved in pushing her too far. The loss of the queen often represents more than just a tactical mistake. It signals a shift in control. When a player loses their queen, the psychological impact is immediate. Confidence plummets, and a sense of panic often sets in. Without the queen, the player is forced to fall back on their remaining pieces, which may not have the same versatility or power. This sudden shift from dominance to vulnerability is a jarring experience, and for many players, it's a blow that they struggle to recover from. Additionally, the queen's vulnerability is not just about being captured, it's about the psychological warfare that comes with having her threatened. As a player with a well-placed queen, you are constantly aware of the possibility of losing her. This tension can force you into a defensive posture, playing more cautiously than you would like, simply because you know that a misplaced move could cost you your most important piece. This fear of losing the queen often prevents players from taking the bold, decisive actions necessary to win the game. They might hesitate when it comes time to attack, or may even retreat when an opportunity arises, out of concern for their queen's safety. The game becomes more about protecting the queen than it is about using her to her full potential. Moreover, the opponent's knowledge of the queen's vulnerability can be used to their advantage. Skilled players will often bait their opponent into overextending their queen, creating an opening for a calculated counterattack. The psychological pressure of knowing that the queen is at risk can cloud the player's judgment, leading them to make impulsive or hasty decisions. In this way, the queen's vulnerability creates a dangerous dynamic where both players are constantly evaluating their moves and trying to predict the other's reactions. It is a psychological dance, a back and forth of tension, with the queen at the center of it all. The Queen's Gambit is one of the most famous strategies in chess, and for good reason. It exemplifies the power of sacrifice and the manipulation of psychological pressure. In the Queen's Gambit, the player offers up a pawn in exchange for control of the center and the potential for future attack. While the term gambit might imply that the queen herself is put at risk, this strategy is actually about positioning and timing rather than a direct sacrifice of the queen. It's a subtle psychological move designed to draw the opponent into a false sense of security and make them believe they have the upper hand. In essence, the Queen's Gambit plays on the opponent's psychology, luring them into a trap by offering an easy target. The player offering the gambit is banking on the opponent's instinct to grab the material advantage and take the pawn, only to later realize that this decision opens up an entire world of strategic possibilities for the player using the gambit. The psychological impact on the opponent is profound. By taking the bait, they enter into a psychological war that goes beyond the mere mechanics of the game. The queen, in this case, becomes the psychological weapon, allowing the player to set a trap and force the opponent into a position where they have no choice but to react. The gambit also illustrates a deeper aspect of the queen's psychology, the ability to create opportunities through calculated risk. Offering the queen or any piece as bait for a greater strategic payoff is not about mindless sacrifice, but about creating an opening that will later be exploited. This mirrors many real-world situations where leaders or individuals in power make sacrifices to secure a larger victory down the line. The psychological manipulation involved is delicate, requiring the player to anticipate the opponent's thinking and actions. The Queen's Gambit, therefore, is a perfect example of how chess can mirror life. It's not just about the power of the pieces, but about the psychological battle that unfolds between the players. Another fascinating aspect of the Queen's role in chess is her influence on the psychology of the game. The Queen represents authority and control, not just in terms of her power on the board, but in the way she shapes the entire game. She is a symbol of strategy and precision, and her movements are often used to communicate dominance. When a player moves the Queen into a strong position, it sends a psychological message to the opponent. They are in control and are dictating the pace of the game. The Queen becomes a focal point, drawing the attention of both players and forcing them to reassess their strategies constantly. In many ways, the Queen's psychological influence extends beyond the game itself, making her a metaphor for power in the broader sense. Just as rulers or leaders are often the focal points of power struggles, so too does the Queen embody the psychological dynamics of authority. She commands the board, and her movements create ripples that affect the entire game. For the player controlling her, there is a sense of confidence and mastery that comes from positioning the Queen effectively. For the opponent, there is a constant fear of the Queen's power, knowing that one wrong move can lead to a devastating blow. Furthermore, the Queen's psychological role goes beyond mere dominance. She also represents the ability to control the outcome of the game. Chess is a game of strategy, and the Queen's influence is felt most strongly in the middle and end game. Her ability to move freely and threaten multiple areas at once allows the player to create complex threats that can overwhelm the opponent. This power of the Queen to dictate the game forces both players into a position where they must anticipate and counter each other's moves. The psychological pressure intensifies as the game progresses, with the Queen standing as the ultimate symbol of control and influence. This influence doesn't stop at the tactical level, it extends into the psychological realm. When a player has their Queen, they feel a sense of security, even if the situation on the board is otherwise challenging. The Queen provides the player with options, offering them the ability to turn the game around with one well-placed move. For the opponent, however, this constant threat can be paralyzing. The fear of the Queen's potential to change the tide of the game can force the opponent to play cautiously, second-guessing their every move. This mental tug-of-war creates a tense atmosphere where every decision made with the Queen carries significant psychological weight. By the endgame, the Queen's power only grows more potent. As pieces are eliminated from the board, the Queen becomes the most influential player, capable of creating multiple threats and forcing the opponent into a corner. In many cases, the Queen is the deciding factor in checkmating the opponent's king. Her ability to move swiftly across the board and cover critical squares makes her an invaluable asset in the final stages of the game. For the player with the Queen, there is a sense of inevitability in their victory. The psychological advantage is palpable. They know they hold the key to victory and have the power to finish the game on their terms. However, this endgame also presents the ultimate test of the Queen's power. While she is the most powerful piece on the board, she is not invincible. A well-executed defense can neutralize her, and skilled players know how to use the remaining pieces to trap the Queen or force her into a compromised position. In this sense, the Queen's endgame role is both a symbol of power and a reminder of the precariousness of that power. Her ability to secure victory is not guaranteed, and the player must be diligent in their use of her abilities, ensuring that she is not overextended or left vulnerable. Ultimately, the Queen's role in chess mirrors the complexities of power and authority in the real world. She is a piece that commands respect, a symbol of dominance and control. Her influence on the game is undeniable, shaping the strategies and psychological tactics of both players. But like all power, her strength comes with a deep vulnerability. The loss of the Queen is a psychological blow, a reminder that even the most powerful entities can be brought down. In this way, the Queen serves as both a symbol of ultimate authority and a cautionary tale about the dangers of overconfidence and overextension. The Queen is the most multifaceted piece on the chessboard, a force of power, strategy, and psychological influence. Her presence shapes the entire game, and her loss marks a dramatic shift in the balance of power. Through her movements, the player controlling her creates opportunities, builds threats, and manipulates the psychology of the opponent. The queen is a symbol of dominance, control, and the subtle dance of psychological warfare that defines high-level chess.